Don't do things that you don't want to do, but also don't say no to things that might even propel you into growth. Be the friend or partner that you want to have, investing in your own development, whether it is emotional, mental, physical. Strong, meaningful connections and relationships are built on mutual respect. Welcome to Without a Doubt, the podcast, where we explore the transformative journey of breaking cycles and embracing our truest self. I'm Mad, a cycle breaker, a creative, and a sprinkle of reality. If they ever told you to be quiet, sit down, blend in, but you couldn't, this podcast is for you. I'm so happy you're here. I'm a quality over quantity friend, although I do think sometimes people believe that I'm one of those people who has a lot of friends. I have a handful of friends and a plethora of peers and acquaintances. I actually have cut out a lot of the BS friendships I had, and I created those, and I really don't feel I even have the energy for small talk, BS, and catching up. I do call myself one of those low maintenance friends in terms of neediness and energy. I don't have a girl group from high school. I don't really even have any high school friends at this point. And I do think the connections I have and hold are the most true and authentic to me. If you're still around and in my bubble and we talk often, it's because you do the work. You also invest in this friendship and you do the meaningful shit too. Connection is a two-way street. Sometimes there's going to be construction and shit be going one way. But you either keep working on the progress or you just keep cruising right on through, sometimes passing the connection altogether. We have to create and nurture connectivity. Creating meaningful relationships in your 30s can be enriching and it can be an experience, but it often requires intentional effort, especially as life tends to get busier. Here's a few strategies for building deeper, more meaningful connections during our growth period in our 30s and as we age. Being intentional with our time is so important. Prioritizing that quality over quantity thing in your 30s, time is more limited. You're working more, you're hustling, you're grinding, maybe you're even building your family. So focusing on relationships that add value to your life, you got to nurture those. You have to spend time with the people who actually share your same values and interests. I say that, interest. And that means making time for the connection. With all of our busy schedules, you need to maybe schedule it in, pencil it in. It can be easy to let relationships just slip through the cracks. You can schedule regular catch-up times with your friends and family. You can dedicate those times to deepen connections with the people who actually matter. Coffee chats once a month, FaceTime, Google Calendar, do the things. Being authentic and showing your true self at this stage in our life is, if you're not doing it, what are you doing? It's easier to be who you really are. People appreciate authenticity, vulnerability, so allow yourself to be in those real conversations and those interactions. Don't settle for the superficial connections. Investing your time in relationships where you can be more open and just transparent. That's going to lead to more deeper connections, period. Those bonds, the meaningful bonds, that is what it's built on, vulnerability. Also, creating experiences like sharing activities and like going out and doing things, whether trying out a new hobby, watching something new, going on a trip, taking a class together, doing those things are how you're going to actually strengthen the relationship. Doing new things in general is just a way to connect, period. And be open to the experiences, new people. Don't close yourself off to making new friends in your 30s especially. It is still possible to form meaningful connections if you're open to it. It is harder, but it's because we already have routines, we already have these values, morals, ethics, and you have these other built connections you've already are working on and are adhering to. Sometimes new relationships with friends fosters inspiration, creativity, and more importantly, growth. Learning how to be a good listener is so important with connecting with others, being empathetic, active listening, showing genuine interest, and asking questions, like paying attention. It's so important to engage in conversations with care. And I think sometimes supporting others, like just offering the support when your friends or loved ones are going through a hard time, being there for someone, building it, it's how it builds trust and strengthens your bond. It's integrity. And then I think the communication thing is a big thing. Big thing with connectivity. setting healthy boundaries, being honest about your needs, your expectations, your limitations, what you are willing to do, addressing issues early on, don't letting these little conflicts fester, like talk through your problems. Even if they're solved, it doesn't mean you have to go back to where you were, but like trying to understand the other person's point of view. Connecting, period. Working on your self-growth is key, like self-awareness, hello. The more you understand yourself, the more values, the desires, your weaknesses, your quirks, the better you're going to be able to connect with others. Taking time for introspection and personal growth. I let a lot of people wander the other way this year because I was just tired of the lack of self-awareness. I have a friend who is recently venting to me about another one of her friends who only talks about one subject, and that subject is about being a mom. I also had someone in my life who did this. It's quite boring, honestly. It's like the lack of self-awareness, mom brain. Not all moms are like this, but if you know one, you know one. Being a mom is the hardest role in life. I know because I watch my own mom. I watch my friends who are moms. I don't want that role. I know because moms work the hardest and don't get paid back for that. I know because I see moms sacrifice it all. But being a mom is not the only thing that you are. And when another mom is venting about her mom friend talking about being a mom, it's lack of self-awareness on that other mom. Are you still here? Can I get a fuck yeah? Read the room. Be aware of and work on growing connections as authentically as you can. Don't do things that you don't want to do, but also don't say no to things that might even propel you into growth. Be the friend or partner that you want to have, investing in your own development, whether it is emotional, mental, physical. Strong, meaningful connections and relationships are built on mutual respect. So being a whole person is essential. I think that sometimes you're going to want to go out of your way to help your closest connection. That's your family, number one, your friends, and you would do that, I would think. I know I do that because I would want them to do the same for me, but also because my intentions are that I am a giver. That is how I show affection. You do things because you're like, my family would do that for me. I would love to do that for them. It's not a tit for tat situation. It's more like following your intuition on what feels best on when to give. Making new friendships and connections, like you have to put yourself out there, whether it's through work, hobbies, volunteering, social settings, whatever, pursuing the opportunities to meet people. And I think this is important. I'm going to give you 3 little examples of this. The first one is I met this girl, Erin. Shout out to you, girl. I know you listen to this podcast, but she lives in Miami and she's someone I met at a concert and she was just hula hooping. And I stopped her and I was like, you're just a great hula hooper. She's like, follow me on Instagram. She just told me on Sunday, by the way, that she thought I was going to be one of those girls that got her Instagram and we never connected. But we have been friends since 2019 and we hang out every few months. We all do something. We went to the zoo back in August. Just this Sunday, we went to some car racing. We talk all the time. I have another friend. Her name is Lindsay, and she's actually one of my old Orange Theory clients. And we were not even friends in the whole 6+ years. I mean, I didn't coach her that long, but for probably the 2 or 3 years she was my client, I never hung out with her. And now we talk on the regular. We go to coffee chats all the time. And then Emily, she's someone from Instagram. I was just open to being an accountability buddy. And now she's become one of my best friends. We do not even know each other in real life. And I have talked about her multiple times on this podcast. And she has even been on here. I will tag her in my show notes. I think this is really important to talk about because making new friendships is really hard the older we get. We are just jam-packed with our own schedules. Making time for the new is not exactly the easiest. We already have these family, generational cycles, all these things that we are attempting to break and do and change, plus work. Oh my gosh, the world is on fire, all of the above. Making new friendships is like the last thing we all need to worry about. But these 3 people that I met in the last 5 or 6 years literally have become people who are really essential in my life. You can also join social groups and find people like that, or clubs. Like this can be a really great way to connect and find people who share your similar interests and passions. And also, you can come out empty-handed. You might not find any friends, but I do think this is a great way to find people who actually have a very similar routine to you. They're consistent like you, especially in fitness classes or yoga, dance classes, things like that. And it's always easier to do things with people who have like hobbies that might come and go. And like I said, that you might not even meet anybody. But then you could also nurture your existing relationships. Hello, stay in touch. Life can get really busy. It is so important to just nurture your existing relationships. Regular calls, messages, visits, keeping all of those things, doing those things is how you keep your bond strong. I even think a little texting, I'm thinking about you, or sending somebody a reel on Instagram. It is so stupid, but like those are so important. Just texting me saying that you listen to the podcast, those things matter. My friend Emily and I actually have made these little vows that we'll check in once a week with, like, we saw people doing Waffle Wednesday, these videos of their updates of the week. So we started doing like Tea Tuesdays or whatever day it is, and there's no pressure. We just talk about what's going on, and sometimes they're 11 minutes long. I think it's just really important that we're catching up, because Emily and I are very invested in growing not only our friendship, but she's somebody that is so actively involved in my personal growth and my growth in who I am, that these are the friendships that you want to nurture. You want people who ask you what's going on. You want friends who want to clap for you. If you're not seeing those, don't nurture those friendships. I think it's like I was talking about doing the little things. I have friends that have just kind of wandered away. I mentioned that. I have connections that were very tight at one time and now are very, very loose. And I chalk them up to, oh, they're in new romances, they're in new loves, they're in new work positions, they're doing this. But the reality is, if they wanted to, they would. They would message me. It's not that hard to send a text message. Energy, I get it. We're all fucking busy. But I would do it too. And I haven't, because maybe the reciprocation just was never there the whole time. Things happen, but nurturing the relationships that nurture you are so, so, so important. And then we're talking about celebrating milestones together, your birthday, anniversaries, personal accomplishments. I have a friend who mailed me like a podcast anniversary card, and everyone knows this is a very small podcast. Thank you for listening, everybody. But this podcast is what I love to do. And somebody randomly sent me a 1-year anniversary card. It's just hanging up on my board. Her name's Merly, and she's one of my high school. She's like a pen pal. We were never really like tight friends. I always feel like we were just acquaintances, but we have a lot of like hobbies as far as nature and animals, and we just kind of send stickers back and forth. That's that relationship. Isn't that so interesting? That wasn't even in my outline, but it was the cutest card, honestly. She just sent it to me out of the blue when she saw that I was celebrating my 1-year podcast, and I appreciated that so much. It was really something little. She even drew the card. It was so fucking cute. Anyway, I also have best friends that I only see on their birthday, like, just because we're both in our hustle grind, but we talk throughout and do all the things, and it's okay. I will stay out until the wee hours in the morning and have a great old time and be dead the next morning just for her. Those are the special friendships and things that you do. The things that we do to celebrate the people that are closest to us are how we build these deeper connections, like I mentioned before, and it's so important to clap and cheer on your people. We need that community, but I've also said you have to be there for the community. It is not always a one-way road. I did say earlier that construction happens. Sometimes you're busy and you can't really work on your friendship. You can't really see your friend. You can't do things. But, how long does it go before you reach back out to the friend? And does that matter to you? I think we need to remember that it's okay. Don't fear the change, and understand that relationships do evolve. In our 30s especially, you might find that some relationships will come and go. Some relationships will drift apart. And some connections are just not as tight as others. Life circumstances just change. Don't resist the change, but embrace it and allow for new connections to grow. I have some friendships that have truthfully just drifted, and I'm okay with it. They haven't reached out. I haven't reached out. No beef, no squash, no nothing, no check-ins. We floated in opposite directions, you feel me? Plus, I have some friendships that I have broken up with due to moral differences, values that don't seem to really align, and other commitments and an ideology that doesn't really sit right with me. I've also allowed really great friendships to end over hurtful comments, allegations, lack of self-awareness, which also leads me to thinking if at those times those friendships were even true to me. I love those people at those times, and I don't know if I was even authentic to myself. And I think that's why I ended up ending a lot of the friendships, because I realized I was molding and folding into a person that I really didn't want to be. And that's okay to end friendships and to grieve them, and connections do break. The change is inevitable, and not all connections stay connected. Practicing patience in meaningful relationships really is going to mean taking time. Building deep, meaningful connections is not always going to happen overnight. You might find that rare person that you click with right away. But be patient. If you're not really finding friends out there, it's okay. Nurture the relationships that you do have. And your 30s can be actually like a really amazing time to weed out the shit you don't want in your garden. I always say that. It's been a really flowering year. A lot of garden analogies. But it's a good time of personal development in our 30s. We start strengthening the human traits and personality traits that we have. And we start really strengthening bonds we want to keep. And these bonds can be so rewarding. The connections we make with people are intentional, authentic, empathetic. They can be lasting, and they can enrich our lives and everybody around us forever. If you can go out, you can get intentional with your connections. You can shine your light on everything. Being connected isn't just about connecting to others. It's about being connected with yourself. It's about loving who you are, and it's about being authentic to you. You're without a doubt a badass. Don't you let me forget. Don't you let me leave you without telling you that. That was a hard one today. Don't you let me leave you without. Don't leave without. Anyway, you're without a doubt a badass. Don't you forget it. I will see you next week. Your girl Mad. Bye.